Before we start, just a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. Only 2% are subscribed. At 1,000 subscribers, I'll be posting a special video. I grabbed the handle and felt my stomach drop. My chef's knife was wedged in the sink at an angle. The tip looked wrong, like it had lost a fight. Water ran over it, like that fixed anything at all. Then Ethan's hand reached in again, and I snapped. "Maya, 28, I blurted like it mattered in court. My voice came out sharp, almost ugly. "Stop touching it," I pointed because my hands shook. He paused and his mouth twitched like a joke. That twitch was the first cut, and I felt it. He lifted the knife and turned it over slowly. A small bend caught the light and my face went blank. I pressed my thumb along the edge, then flinched. A nick bit back at me, clean and certain. I stared at my own skin like it betrayed me. "What did you do?" My words came out too calm. He wiped the blade on a towel like it was normal. I used it for a second and he shrugged. My throat went tight because that was never true. Not with that kind of bend, not like this. "For what?" I kept my voice steady on purpose. He leaned on the counter, relaxed, almost proud. Ajar, the lid was stuck, so I pried it. He mimed the motion with his wrist, quick and casual. My brain stalled on the word pride and I went cold. I laughed once, a weird little burst. It sounded fake, even to me. "You used my knife as a crowbar," I heard myself. He rolled his eyes like I was being cute. That's when the shame hit, because I felt ridiculous. "You're acting like I broke your car," he said. He tapped the blade with his nail, like testing it. "It still cuts." His grin had that lazy confidence. I reached for the knife and he pulled it back. That tiny move lit something ugly in me. "Give it." I held my hand out, palm up. He hovered it over my fingers, then didn't let go. His stare stayed on my face like this was a game. I hated that I started bargaining in my head. I hated that I almost smiled to soften it. "Why are you like this?" He tilted his head. "Because it's my stuff," I said, then felt petty. He snorted and looked past me, bored already. I watched him check out of the moment. It felt like being dismissed in my own home. I took the knife anyway, fast and firm. His fingers tightened, then slipped off. I set it on the counter like it was fragile glass. He lifted both hands, all innocence and attitude. That pose made me want to scream. I grabbed a cutting board and lined the knife beside it. I didn't do it to prep food. I did it so he would see the damage clearly. He glanced, then looked away again. That look away was louder than any apology. "You can't just use it for whatever," I told him. He shrugged like my words had no weight. "It's a knife." He spread his hands at the air. My chest tightened because he meant it. He truly meant it, and that terrified me. I tried a different approach, softer, almost pleading. "I take care of my tools." My voice cracked on tools. He smirked and I saw him decide I was overreacting. "You and your rules," he muttered under his breath. That sentence landed like a slap, quiet and final. I opened my mouth, then shut it. I could feel myself choosing the wrong tone. My mind rushed ahead to the next dinner, then the next. I saw the same shrug, the same grin, the same damage. That future showed up too fast, and it made me dizzy. "Fine," I nodded like I agreed with him. He relaxed like we were done. Then I slid the knife into a drawer and closed it hard. "I'm not cooking tonight." I kept my eyes on his. His smile froze and the air went sharp. He blinked like he misheard me. "You're serious?" The warmth in his voice dropped out. I leaned on the counter to stay steady. "I'm serious," I said, and my pulse slammed. His jaw tightened and I knew this was just starting. He stepped closer, not touching, just crowding. "You're punishing me over a knife." His laugh was thin. I could taste the urge to apologize and I swallowed it. I glanced at the closed drawer like it was a lock. He followed my gaze and his eyes narrowed. I heard metal scrape against my nonstick pan, slow, deliberate. I rushed in and saw him dragging a fork through eggs. My hand shot out and grabbed the handle mid-stir. The pan jerked and the fork left another harsh line. His eyes stayed on the food like I was background noise. "Don't do that." My voice came out thin. He kept going and the fork clicked again. "It's fine," he snapped without even looking up. I grabbed the fork and he tightened his grip. For 1 second we both held it and neither blinked. I let go first and I hated myself for it. He smirked like he won a point, not an argument. I turned the pan toward me and saw the surface streaked. Not ruins maybe, but injured in a way that mattered. I swallowed hard because I felt stupid caring this much. You act like I'm breaking laws, he muttered. He flicked the fork in the air, impatient. I pressed my palm to the counter to steady it. I'm asking for basic respect, I said slower this time. He laughed once sharp like I told a bad joke. I moved the pan off the burner and killed the heat. He followed it with his gaze, then looked at my face. Seriously, his tone turned flat, almost warning. I nodded and my mouth tasted like pride and fear. He leaned back like he had all day to punish me. He reached for the pan again, testing me. I slid it farther away, quick and clean. His hand froze in the air, then dropped. Stop playing kitchen cop, he said, eyes hard. That word cop hit me wrong and my chest locked up. I tried to keep it simple because lectures go nowhere. Use a silicone spoon, I pointed at the utensil holder. He glanced at it and didn't move. You're obsessed, he said like it explained everything. My face got hot and I felt my control slipping. I heard myself start bargaining and it sounded pathetic. Just this one thing, I kept my voice low. He lifted his eyebrows like I was begging for money. Then he reached past me slow and grabbed my good tongs. He clacked them twice like a dog toy and waited. Put those down, I hated how careful I sounded. He clacked them again, watching me flinch. You really want to fight over utensils, he said. I wanted to say no, I wanted peace so badly. But my hands curled into fists and I stayed planted. I took the tongs from him, gentle and firm. He didn't resist, he just stared like I proved something. I set them back and turned my body to block the drawer. That move surprised even me, like instinct took over. His mouth twitched and I saw a mean idea form. He opened the drawer anyway, right beside my hip. I didn't shove him, but I didn't step aside. His fingers rummaged like he owned every inch of space. He pulled out my wooden spoon and bent it just to see. The wood creaked and my throat tightened fast. What are you doing? My words came out clipped. He kept pressure on it, eyes locked on mine. Relax, he said soft like he was soothing a child. The spoon held, but the sound stayed in my head. I pictured it snapping and my pulse went wild. I reached in and took it back, careful not to jerk. He let it go, then smiled like he was generous. See, nothing happened, he said, smug and calm. I stared at the spoon and noticed a faint split near the handle. Not big enough to prove, but big enough to haunt me. I set the spoon down and backed away. My brain raced through a dozen comebacks, none landed. He turned to the eggs like the scene was over. That casual pivot made my stomach twist hard. I felt trapped between silence and a blow-up. You're not hearing me, I kept my voice steady. He whisked again, harder like he wanted noise. I hear you, he said, then shrugged. I don't agree. Something in me sank, slow and heavy. It wasn't the pan anymore, it was the way he enjoyed this. I grabbed a plate and slid it between us. Serve yourself, I told him, and my voice surprised me. He blinked like I broke the script. You're being dramatic, he said, and his smile disappeared. His eyes went cold, and I knew he would retaliate somehow. He stepped in close, not touching, just crowding my space. So you're really doing this, he said, low and tight. I nodded once because my throat refused extra words. He stared at the drawer, then back at me, calculating. Then he turned away, and the quiet felt like a threat. I slid a small note across the counter toward him. He didn't read it, he just pushed it back. My fingers stayed on the paper like a clamp. Look at it, my voice shook, and I hated that. He stared at me instead, like the note was an insult. I kept it simple on purpose. No drama, no rant, just a few clear lines. Use the right tools, don't force things, ask first. His mouth twisted like I wrote a joke. He tapped the note with one finger, slow and mocking. You wrote rules for me, his tone went flat. I nodded once like that was normal. It's not rules, it's respect. My throat burned on that word. He leaned back, arms wide, performing disbelief. Respect, he repeated like it tasted bad. I tried to stay steady and not spiral. You keep damaging my stuff, I kept it plain. He cut in fast, our stuff, his eyes didn't blink. I paused because that sounded fair for half a second. Then he smiled and I knew it was a trap. You're acting like I'm careless, he said. I pointed at the note again like a lifeline. You are being careless, I shot back too quick. His face brightened like he finally got what he wanted. See, he nodded hard like he caught me confessing. I forced a breath through my nose, slow, controlled. I'm not calling you stupid, I'm asking you to listen. He scoffed and looked away, dismissive and loud. I listened, I just don't agree with your obsession. That word landed and my shoulders went rigid. Obsessed is you doing it after I ask you not to. I heard myself and cringed at the edge in it. He stepped closer and low. Read his voice. You think you're better than me because you cook. My stomach dropped because that was not my point. I shook my head too fast, too desperate. No, this isn't about being better, my hands opened. He pointed at my chest, sharp and accusing. You care more about tools than you care about me. The room went silent and I felt my face go hot. Have you ever been blamed for the boundary itself? I stood there trying to answer the wrong question. I care about both, I said, and it sounded weak. He pounced on that weakness like it was proof. Both, he echoed, and his grin looked hungry. I switched tactics because logic was sinking fast. Tell me what you need from me, I kept my eyes on his. He shrugged and spread his hands, a normal girlfriend. That hit harder than I expected, right in the ribs. I swallowed and my mouth went dry. What does normal mean to you? I asked it anyway. He rolled his eyes, then laughed like I was slow. It means you don't freak out over nothing. I wanted to scream that it wasn't nothing. Instead I nodded, and the nod felt like betrayal. I moved the note closer to him again. Can you agree to these? I asked, quiet and direct. He stared at it, then at me, then away. Why should I? His voice turned casual, like small talk. That casual tone made me feel unsafe in a new way. I reached for my phone, not to record, just to breathe. He noticed and snapped his fingers near my face. Don't be dramatic, his eyes stayed locked on mine. I froze because my body took that as a warning. Then he smiled again and it looked practiced. I set the phone down slowly like it might explode. I'm not cooking for you until this changes, I said. He laughed loud enough to fill the whole space. You're punishing me, he pointed like a prosecutor. My chest tightened because he made it sound criminal. I'm protecting my peace, I said, then regretted it. He leaned in, voice low, almost sweet. Your peace matters more than me. He waited for my flinch. I did flinch and he saw it. His smile widened and I knew he would use this later. I picked up the note and folded it once. My hand stopped shaking, which scared me more. I'm done arguing, I said, and meant it this time. He watched me like I was leaving the script. Good, he said, and his calm felt like a threat. My phone buzzed and Ethan snatched it off the table. He glanced at the screen, then slid it back fast. I reached for it and he blocked me with his arm. Nothing, he kept his eyes on the door like he was waiting. Then the doorbell rang right on cue. I opened my phone and saw a group chat. My name sat in it like bait. Dinner at ours tonight, Ethan had typed earlier. He added a flame emoji like it was cute. My stomach tightened because he never asked me first. I turned toward him and held the phone up. Why did you invite people? My voice stayed low. He waved a hand like I was being dramatic again. It's just the guys, he smiled like I should be grateful. The bell rang again, impatient and loud. I didn't move to the door this time. Ethan moved past me and opened it wide. Two friends stepped in with loud hellos and big energy. Ethan clapped one on the shoulder like a host on stage. Then he looked back at me like I owed him a performance. Tell them you're hungry, he called over his shoulder. One friend laughed and said he was starving. I forced a tight smile and stood still. My chest felt packed with air I could not use. Ethan's eyes flicked to the kitchen like a command. He started talking fast, filling every pause. Her cooking is unreal, he announced too loud. I blinked at him like he slapped me with a compliment. One friend nodded at me like I was staff. I felt my face heat up and my hands went cold. I stepped closer to Ethan and kept my voice small. I'm not cooking tonight, I kept it clean and direct. His smile held for a beat, then cracked at the edges. He leaned in like he was sharing a secret. Don't make this weird, he whispered, and my stomach sank. He turned back to them and laughed like nothing happened. So what do you guys want? He asked, already deciding. One friend said burgers, then looked at me again. I could feel the pressure lock onto my shoulders. Ethan watched me like he was waiting for me to fold. I walked to the kitchen and stopped at the counter. Not to cook, just to breathe for a second. Ethan followed and kept his voice soft for show. Just throw something together, he murmured near my ear. My jaw tightened because he was pushing the same button. You set me up, I said, and I hated how shaky it sounded. He frowned like I heard him, which was almost impressive. Set you up, he repeated it like I was paranoid. Then his eyes slid toward the living room again. Smile, he added, and my skin crawled. I walked back out and faced his friends. Hey, I'm not cooking tonight, I said, steady enough. The room paused like someone cut the audio. One friend gave a confused laugh that died fast. Ethan's stare drilled into my face like a warning. He jumped in before anyone could ask why. She's just stressed, he said, chuckling like it was adorable. I felt my throat close because he spoke for me. I wanted to correct him, but my voice stalled. Have you ever gone silent because the room feels unsafe? I forced words out anyway, slow and careful. It's not stress, it's a boundary. Ethan's face shifted tight, then smooth again. Boundary, he tasted the word like it offended him. One friend glanced between us like he wanted to leave. Ethan walked up close and lowered his voice again. You're making me look bad, he breathed, teeth barely moving. I stared at him and felt something click into place. This was not about dinner, it was about control. I looked at the front door and wondered who I was kidding. He backed up and put on his friendly voice. Okay, we'll order something, he announced, all charm. Then his hand closed on my wrist for one quick second. His nails pressed just enough to leave a message. He smiled at the room while his grip told me to behave. I pulled my wrist free and stepped back. My heart was loud and my thoughts were sharp. I could feel the night tilting toward something worse. Ethan met my eyes and gave a tiny nod, like a promise. And I knew he wasn't done making me pay for this. I yanked the utensil drawer open and stopped cold. The slot where my good tongs lived was empty. I pushed aside a few things and checked again. My stomach twisted because I knew they did not walk away. Then I saw the wooden spoon handle peeking out, cracked. I lifted it and ran my thumb along the split. It flexed like it wanted to break in half. I set it down and stared like it might confess. I felt stupid for hoping it was nothing. Then my eyes caught a smear of grease near the drawer. I followed that smear like a trail I did not want. I checked the trash and found nothing useful. I checked the sink and found nothing at all. My hands started trembling again and I got angry. Not loud angry, focused angry. I walked to the closet and grabbed my shoes. I did not announce it, I just moved. Ethan called from the living room, voice lazy. Where are you going? The question sounded like ownership. I kept walking and let the silence answer him. The garage door stuck for a second, then gave. I stepped inside and my eyes scanned fast. I saw my tongs on a workbench, stained and open. Next to them sat my spoon, snapped clean through. My throat went tight because he brought them out here. I picked up the tongs and clicked them once by accident. The sound hit me like a slap and I froze. There was a gouge near the hinge, deep and ugly. I could not pretend it was normal wear anymore. It looked like punishment done with a grin. I walked back inside holding both pieces like evidence. Ethan glanced up and his mouth curved, amused. He did not ask why I was in the garage. He just leaned back and waited for my reaction. That waiting felt like a dare. What is this? I held the broken spoon up. He shrugged like I showed him junk mail. You weren't using it, his voice stayed calm and sure. I stared at him and felt my brain short out. Have you ever heard a lie that sounded rehearsed? That spoon was in my drawer, my voice stayed low. He lifted a brow like I was being dramatic again. It's a spoon, he waved a hand like it was proof. I could feel rage pushing up behind my ribs. Then he smiled and I saw he liked my anger. Why take it to the garage? I forced the question out. He tilted his head like I was slow. Because I needed it, he made it sound simple. I looked at the tongs and saw fresh scratches. My stomach dropped again, this was not need. I stepped closer, careful and steady. Did you do this to make a point? I kept my eyes locked. He laughed short and sharp like I was ridiculous. You're paranoid, he pointed at me like that ended it. I felt my face burn because part of me believed him. I backed up and set the tongs on the counter. I placed the broken spoon beside them, neat and final. I'm done cooking for you, the words came out clean. His smile vanished so fast it scared me. Then his voice hardened, quiet, dangerous. You're really going to hold dinner hostage? His tone dripped contempt. I shook my head and felt tears threaten, and I hated that. It's not dinner, it's respect. My hands clenched at my sides. He snorted and turned away like I was beneath him. Petty, he tossed back like a label he loved. I did not argue, and that surprised both of us. I walked to the kitchen and opened a cabinet door. I pulled out a plain storage box and set it down. Not cute, not symbolic, just a boundary with a lid. Ethan watched me like he was seeing a stranger. I slid the remaining tools into the box one by one. I did not look at him while I did it. He stepped close. Then stopped like he knew better. You're insane, his laugh sounded forced this time. I snapped the lid shut hard and the sound filled the room. I carried the box toward the bedroom without rushing. Ethan followed a few steps behind, breathing heavy. Unlock it, his voice tried to sound casual and failed. I paused at the doorway and turned my head slightly. No, I said, and the silence after felt like a cliff.